Best remedies to combating anger. You do not need to let anger to have control over you. 1. Basic life skills to avoid temper flares. 2. Being angry but still keeping cool. 3. Cooling down when vexed. 4. Understanding diverse ways of expressing anger in a bid to eliminate it. 5. Detailed practical steps for you to consider. Basic life skills to avoid temper flares. This therapeutic technique works for many people and is one of the easiest to go by. When the person asks you to fulfill a demanding order, it is advisable to give an ironic response to such confrontation rather than going crazy. For instance, you can make a rejoinder by asking whether the individual needs such absurd demands to be served from a dish. When using humor, one should try to make fun out of negative circumstances. Try to validate what did happen like it was in reality, preventing one from creating a relative much greater mistake. Doing things on your own would also help a great deal in cooling down situations which could have otherwise turned out to be very severe. You should see yourself as a great hero who moves away from the debate, can correct mistakes and make things better than they should be. Doing something different once in a while would assist in helping you get to feel much better. Give relevant explanations in regards to whatever did occur to you. Substantiate individuals' behaviors or just make fun of whichever thing that's wrong. Have a positive mindset that nothing would be able to eliminate your superior disposition or courage. It is only a fine-tuned positive mind frame that would effortlessly eradicate your emotional tempest and nervousness for whichever situation. If this is appropriately practiced, then one would always be in a joyous mood and be in a position to live a convenient life. Make wise decisions devoid of anger bouts. Being angry but still keeping cool. It would be a big lie for one to say that he or she doesn't get mad in the course of day-to-day life. As long as we were relating with others, then they are bound to get in our nerves unintentionally. Remember that you also do the same without knowing. The best thing to do in such circumstances is staying cool and calm and trying as much as possible to control anger tantrums. Simply put, you need to learn how to control anger rather than letting it do the opposite. 1. Take a quick deep breath. Immediately someone says or acts in a way that is supposedly offensive to you, the best thing to do is breathing in sporadically. You will also need to wait for at least 10 seconds prior to taking any step. One needs to be still and sufficiently think through the matter before commencing with any course of action. This will take time and practice but will surely pay in the long run. 2. Clarify the situation, then try as much as possible to explain circumstances in accordance to another individual's perspective, and not your own. This would help the offended person have a broader perspective on the issue than what was initially at his mind. 3. You need to look at a provoking situation from 3 rather than 2 corners of a coin. Maybe the person who wronged you didn't intend to do so at first, and it is you who had misunderstood this individual's actions. Shun the habit of repeatedly thinking only about yourself, as in some cases you may be the one that's wrong. Many offenses are simple misunderstandings that one can get well through when time is taken out to understand the situation in depth. 4. Keep a composed voice and considerable tone that will not make it clear to others that you are angry. When one is angry, more often than not it will show with the individual's tonal inclination. Afterwards yells would follow and the person would start saying things which they didn't mean at first. 5. If worse comes to worse, just walk away, since it is the easiest and most effective way to avoid a conflict. It is better to vent anger all on your own rather than including another person and making matters blow well out of proportion. When you are far from the offender, you can proceed to yell the loudest, scream, or even talk by yourself so as to vent out excess steam. Once you feel calm again is when you can now take the courage to face the offender. Anger is an emotion, and as we all know, in many cases emotions generally make us not make rational decisions at pressing circumstances. Don't blow away stresses by creating up tension with innocent individuals who are by no means related to the issues you have with the offender. Doing so will get you in trouble with them as well, even if this was not your plan. Find improved ways in which you can sufficiently do away with stress without getting into the nerves of others. Cooling down when vexed. Sometimes people do stress themselves way too much, and this only makes anger outbursts blow way out of proportion. As such instances, the best thing that one should do is just trying to remain as calm and cool as is possible. You can consider keeping yourself as busy as is possible to avoid instances where you will be thinking about the person who offended you. Anger management experts have pointed out that at times one of the best cures needed for effective healing is just keeping our minds occupied. You can take a brisk walk across the park, do some washing, or read a book just to keep the mind sufficiently occupied. This will assist in keeping the mind far off from disturbing thoughts, which are key culprits of anger. Clamorous settings will only serve to rouse up your anger. The most favorable thing to do when in a disturbing mental state is finding yourself some quiet room to settle up your thoughts. If you are in a noisy setting, walk out and find somewhere quieter. Allocate yourself some time alone for several minutes and shut off the rest who may be getting into your nerves. Understanding diverse ways of expressing anger in a bid to eliminate it. Anger is part and parcel of our everyday life, but one should not allow it to take control. When left unchecked, bouts of anger may destroy your own family unit, lifestyle, and also work relations. In case you have the tendency of easily being irritated over issues, it's vital that you sufficiently learn ways of curbing extreme emotions, for this adverse emotion can only be dealt with if the victim understands this emotion better. The very first step is identifying the categories of anger that we are prone to and different ways in which these emotions can be expressed. 1. Behavioral vexation. This type of anger is tied to physical expressions whereby one tends to act physically when expressing discontentment. It's usually revealed through unwarranted troublemaking as well as defiance tendencies. At times there may be a desire to attack the subject which has caused these infuriated feelings in a bid to feel. 2. Verbal anger. This kind of anger is usually delivered devoid of any physical action, it is expressed through word of mouth. The supposedly offended person will hurl belittling comments toward the other person along with hurtful criticisms. This will also include yelling profanity, blatant swearing, or criticizing the other individual's abilities. Verbal anger can be very destructive to those who are emotionally sensitive. 3. Passive. Those who express their emotions in this format will not react to the other person's provoking actions even though they may be hurting on the inside. Passively angry persons will hold on to their fury, particularly because they do think that expressing vexation quite wrong. They may also be too scared to openly utter these feelings. Others will try to avoid the individual or situation that does create such feelings. They can also be quite dangerous. 4. Self-inflicted vexation. In this category, the offended person acts in an unusual way by channeling emotional constraints towards him or herself. For instance, when anger does arise in individuals with low esteem, they would express it through being quite hard on their own selves. Self-inflicted anger does combine two very lethal emotions, namely abridged self-esteem and quick vexation. It's imperative that one should know the diverse ways of expressing anger to be in a better position to manage any issues that pertain to vexation. It doesn't matter how you express anger, as all in all any form of it is harmful. The best thing to do is learning how to control bouts of vexation to avoid explosive situations. Detailed practical steps for you to consider. 1. Another healthy means of letting off steam is through engaging in controlled exercises. One can go for a jog in the park, lift a couple of weights, or even relax in a serene environment and breathe in some cool fresh air. Boxing is also an effective exercise that will sure work wonders in aiding you release off unnecessary steam. 2. Anger victims who are more prone to oral rampage can consider learning how to bite the tongue and prevent insulting words from coming out. Another method would be simply walking away to prevent the anger outbursts from reaching dangerous levels. A person can learn to utilize affirmative self-talk in a bid to diffuse negative statements which may want to shove out. 3. If you are into the habit of expressing anger and sly, then it would be recommendable to try less harmful ways of expressing the emotion. The main key for such instances is for one to be sufficiently assertive but not aggressive at all. 4. Most importantly is finding ways of building up a self-worth state for those individuals who inflict injury upon themselves when they are vexed. 5. In cases like these, one can try to have positive self-conversation sessions, such as saying "I'm a precious individual." Repeating such words every day would definitely rise up your self-esteem and assist you from unnecessarily getting angry on yourself. All these anger control techniques would work differently depending on level of temperance and personality of the affected individual.